Star Wars Outlaws is here. Starting today, you can play as Kay alongside Nix and ND5 as you traverse the galaxy, work with the Syndicates, and carve your own path in the Star Wars universe. We couldn't be more excited to play this, but why should you? I'm Eric, welcome to Utini, and today we're going over the 7 most exciting gameplay features in Star Wars Outlaws. Outlaws is out today, and many of us have had this pre-ordered since the announcement. But if you haven't and you've been waiting, that's totally fine. Maybe you were waiting on reviews, or maybe you want to see what kind of game you're actually signing up for. Well, that's exactly why we're here. There are so many exciting features to explore within Star Wars Outlaws, so let's go over 7 that we can't wait to dive into today. First up, let's talk about Nix, Kay's adorable Mercal companion. Last week, we discussed how important he is to Kay's story, but he's much more than just a cute little sidekick. Nix is a functional and extremely necessary asset in the game. He can distract enemies to aid in stealth missions, activate buttons and switches to help solve puzzles, grab heavy weapons during combat, and even attack enemies directly. Think of him as a slightly more advanced BD-1 from Jedi Fallen Order. Someone that is there not only for emotional moments, but also to literally open up the game world to help you progress through your journey. Nix will be fundamental to every part of your Outlaws experience, proving that a good friend by your side is just as good as any blaster. But not everyone in this game is exactly interested in friendship. From the original Outlaws announcement, we've known that this game is all about the Syndicates. We discussed their histories and makeups in our video last week, but the way you interact with them might be the coolest aspect. Throughout the game, your reputation with each Syndicate, except Zarek Besh, will fluctuate. Having a death mark attached to your name really does hinder the ability to form a friendship, after all. Sometimes, the way to increase your reputation with a certain Syndicate is clear and intentional, like when gathering intel or taking on missions. Other times, it's more subtle, depending on if you save a ship in space or help someone random along your way. Possibly the coolest mechanic, however, is the ability to change your mind mid-mission. From time to time, you can select dialogue options that will let you double-cross bosses. You can gun down informants if you get a better offer, or you can just decide, hey, maybe Crimson Dawn needs this intel a bit more than the Pikes do. These decisions have the opportunity to increase your rewards, but at a cost. And depending on where your loyalty lies, the ease at which you traverse the galaxy will change. In Star Wars Outlaws, the Syndicates control a lot of what you're able to do. But they aren't the only ones after you. After all, the shadow of the Empire stretches very, very far. Now, if you've played Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption before, and given the fact that they've sold roughly 1 billion copies, I'm sure many of you have, you're familiar with their wanted mechanic. Essentially, if you commit a crime, you receive a star rating that affects which level of police will chase after you. Outlaws has something similar, but with the Empire. Local stormtroopers may start coming after you for stealing or disturbing the peace, but if you keep up your criminal activities, well, things can escalate. We're talking armored trucks, roadblocks, and even full-on squads of death troopers who can be nearly impossible to take down. Now, you can, of course, lower this level by stealing Imperial keycards at local bases, but you can also find transmitters in space that will help take the heat off. But in order to get there, you'll have to take advantage of one of our other amazing features. One of my favorite things about sci-fi games is having your own ship. There's something magical about the ownership, the mechanics, even the customization. But sometimes flying it can be a real pain with things like infinite loading screens destroying the immersion. Sorry about that, Starfield. In Outlaws, your ship is the Trailblazer, a refined EML 850 light freighter that will get you out of more than a few scraps. Need to make a quick getaway? No more waiting through loading screens, you just take off. Need to get back on planet? Well, down you go, and you get to witness the entire thing in real time. I'm sure it's probably a sneaky loading screen, they're everywhere nowadays. But having control and going from ground to air to space without interruption ensures there's no break in your personal immersion. And once you're up there, there's the epic ship combat. Remember Starfighter Assault from Battlefront 2? The mechanics are remarkably similar, which is fantastic news if you're like me and loved that game type more than anything. It also helps that the space around planets isn't just empty space either. It's filled with action, spontaneous events, and combat encounters, keeping the momentum going from planet to space. Honestly, it's the kind of freedom and thrill we've always dreamed of in a Star Wars game. So, what if you want to upgrade that ship, or even your speeder? Add a turret, boost the speed? Well, that's where the expert system comes in. Instead of a typical skill tree, all upgrades in Outlaws come through quests done for various experts on each planet. So rather than getting XP to unlock an ability, you get to have a conversation, pick up some new lore, and witness Kay's personal journey flesh out a bit more as she gets stronger. I mean, after all, Luke didn't just get a lightsaber one day, right? He talked to Ben, learned about the history, and then the weapon meant something more, something iconic. Now, does that mean that each piece of armor plating will somehow carry the significance of the Skywalker lineage? Absolutely not. But meeting new characters, having different interactions, it all makes the game more fulfilling. And you'll be able to focus on different experts as the game goes on based on your style of play. Whether you want to be a gunslinger that solely focuses on blaster upgrades or the stealthiest thief in galactic history who just wants to avoid detection, you'll be able to choose the perfect expert to help you along that journey. And speaking of choices, one of the coolest things about open world games is the freedom to play your own way. When I boot up something like Ghost of Tsushima or Horizon Forbidden West, sometimes I just want to turn off the main quest and do some side missions, gather some resources, and just lose myself in what's happening in the world. And that kind of immersion is littered all throughout Outlaws. While the game has a golden path, essentially the main story thread that takes you from beginning to end, there's so much more to do outside of it. You can hear rumors at the cantina that lead to small adventures, play literal arcade games, bet on fathier races, jump into a game of sabacc, or race your speeder across the plains, provided you got those upgrades we mentioned earlier, of course. All these activities make you feel like you're truly living in the Star Wars galaxy. You can spend hours just existing in this world, which, let's be honest, is something we've all dreamed of for years. And sometimes, you don't even need a mission at hand to get the most out of this particular galaxy. Our final feature today is one that may be somewhat ethereal, but it also may be the most important and quintessentially Star Wars part of the game. It's the ability to simply explore. Let's say you've had enough of the main mission. You don't feel like running around for upgrades, and you've lost all your credits betting on Canto Bight. Well, you can just jump on your speeder and see where the Force takes you. The game's 5 planets are meticulously designed, full of landmarks and points of interest where maybe you'll stumble upon a speeder chase, find the wreck of an old High Republic ship, or just take in the gorgeous vistas. Outlaws allows you the time and ability to explore in whatever way you want. It's the acknowledgement that no matter how many years have passed since the original film, there's still nothing that beats the feeling of looking out over a horizon at however many suns you have, with the knowledge that you have the freedom to simply go and answer the call to adventure. I still can't believe that Star Wars Outlaws is finally here. And there's so many features we didn't get to cover, like Kay's multiple blaster functions or her Red Dead-inspired Deadeye aim. And whether you're jumping into the game today or are still just testing the water, there's a lot to be stoked about. So, what excites you the most about Outlaws? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to keep celebrating Star Wars with us every single week. Until next time, may the Force be with you.